Yes, that's wonderful. And we started to record. So welcome, everybody. It's lovely to see you here. And I hope you're having a good week so far. I know it's only Wednesday, but I hope it's going well. We're excited to discuss the programme with you today, Digital Transformation. It's a really exciting programme that I hope you're going to be as excited as we are about. Just a few things before we start. If you wouldn't mind, in the chat box, just tell us who you are and where you're from, so we know who's in the room. And if you've got any questions, just pop them in the Q&A box, which you'll find on the menu, on the top of the menu, next to the chat box. Yeah, if you could put those in there, and we'll hold all questions till the end, and then we'll have plenty of time to answer any concerns you've got, any questions you've got about the programme itself. Yeah, that's it. If you can't find the buttons, let me know. But they should be on the menu at the top of your screen. So what are we going to be doing today? We are going to be talking a little bit about the university itself, Singapore Management University. I'm going to tell you a little about Emeritus, who are the learning partner, collaborator with the Singapore Management University. I'm going to be introducing to you Dr Karner, who is part of the faculty here at the university, and obviously instrumental. In fact, he's the program director, so he's going to be taking you through the modules, and he's going to be explaining week on week what you're going to be exploring. He's also going to be talking to you about the learning outcomes and the program highlights, and so on. I'll take you through the learning journey, so how you're going to learn, and I'll also talk to you about the result, the output, and that is the qualification, and then how you can sign up and join the program. So that's what the next hour looks like. As I say, if you wouldn't mind, just pop in the chat box there who you are and where you're from. I can see Elaine. Greetings from the Philippines. Anybody else? Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Don't forget to click all hosts and panelists when you do. No, you must be a very shy group. Okay, well, oh yes, no, we've got Cyrus from the Philippines as well. Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to get too many more people. So let me start, because we've got a lot to get through. Let me tell you a little bit about the university. It's actually a very young university. It's not yet even 25 years old. It's also a very dynamic and energetic university. It takes a slightly different approach. It takes a very global approach to learning. I think one of the things that I take out of it is it absolutely promotes curiosity and of course innovation, which is what we've been talking a lot about today in terms of digital transformation. So it's also ranked number 12 in the world as a university, as a management university. It's also got over 11,600 students. And the point about that is this is a wonderful opportunity for you guys to network, because you will be able to do that virtually, obviously throughout the program, and you'll meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, lots of different industry sectors, and so on and so forth. And that is a fantastic opportunity for you not only to learn from each other, but to as I said, to build those networks. Yeah, and the university's got I think 388 faculty members, so there's this huge body of expertise, experience, and academic excellence that sits behind it. So you are in good hands. I think that's the key takeout from this slide. I said earlier on, we partner with Emeritus, who I've been working with now for a little while. Oops, let's skip slides. My computer's a bit temperamental this morning, a bit like me, it didn't want to wake up. But there we go. So who are Emeritus? Emeritus partner with a number of universities, particularly the Singapore Management University. They're a global organisation, and they reinforce that global, the global feel that the university has. So you've got offices across the world. They partner with over 50 universities and learning providers. Again, globally. And what they do is they collaborate with the universities to design, develop, and help deliver excellent executive education and executive development programs. And so I've been working with them for a little while. And what they're able to do is to bring their expertise to bear on these programs, so that the online experience for you guys is absolutely superb. And what they're able to do is design programs that are this wonderful blend of online self-directed learning, but also the interaction with people like me, and also the content that you're going to be looking at a little bit later on. So yeah, that's who Emeritus are. As I say, they work for a lot of the top universities like Columbia, London Business School, and so on, and of course, Singapore Management University. So who am I? I've been talking to you now for about 10 minutes. You have no idea who I am. So my name's Helen. I'm your program leader, and I'm a learning specialist latterly. Actually, my background actually is in marketing, but it's also in innovation and product design development and so on. In fact, I spent some years working for Royal Philips, a huge electronic organisation, you've probably heard of them, and I was one of their innovation specialists. So disruption is in my blood. I work for a lot of learning providers, both in the public sector, people like India Management Institute, London Business School, and so on and so forth. But I also work for some private providers, and I've been working now with Google with their Squared Online program for the last 7 years, and that's where I get a lot of my digital and innovation knowledge from, is keeping current through Google. They're amazing. They're just incredible. So that's me, and I'm here for you throughout the program. I'm the one you reach out to with any questions or any concerns, and we'll talk about this a little later on, but I'll be meeting with you each week for what's called an office hour, where we will go through the content that you've been exploring over the week, and we'll come together and we'll discuss that. So that's me, that's my role with you as the program lead. But enough about me, because my background is just so boring compared to this man. Oh, Dr. Karner, I mean, has got the most amazing background. And like a lot of us, you know, he started in one place, excelled in the extreme. He's not only an author and a scientist, but now latterly he's an academic, but he's also along the way been an entrepreneur with a couple of business startups to go with that. But I can't do him justice. I'm going to pass over to you, Dr. Karna, to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Actually, you shouldn't be saying that. I have now been working with Google, and you worked for all these sort of big corporations, Philips, etc. So I personally, I come, as you can see, from this, in fact, academic background. I should call myself boring in that sense, because I've been sort of a research scientist in the past. I was, in fact, from the life sciences. So the more interesting part that Helen was alluding to, and what makes my background unusual, is that I switched over. I'm basically one of these multidisciplinary people. And I used to work in oceanography, work with molecular biology tools and biology. And at some point, the bench research, I found it interesting, but I wanted to go further. And at that point, I was working in ecosystem science. And well, if you say ecosystems, you say system science. From system science, you go to complex systems. From complex systems, you go well over to human systems, economics, and business. And so when I came to Singapore about 20 years ago, I started teaching in SMU, which had been founded barely a few years ago at that point in time. And I built interdisciplinary classes, and I grew into sort of the entire strategy, technology, and due to my background, of course, in science and technology, and also the business strategy and business systems background. And what I teach now in executive development is mostly strategy and technology. So that is what links me in essence to these elements that we'll see throughout the program. So the program in itself is in a way then a link to my background, because it is also a multidisciplinary program. We talk about digital transformation, which has many elements. It deals with markets, it deals with technology itself. And if we can maybe go forward, talk less about myself and talk a bit more about the modules themselves, the program. I will in fact teach the first two modules in that program, the state of disruption and business strategy under digital transformation. I mean, both are linked to either technology or strategy, which, as I said, are my specialties in my role here. I'm also the program director in that sense, that I oversaw the development of this entire program. We have a variety of faculty here. So this one of the specialty things that make this program stand out in the crowd in a way is that we have specialty faculty for all these modules. We don't have one faculty covering it all, but we have an illustrious set of faculty teaching this, and I'll mention them as we go along. So the module 1 is about the state of disruption currently in the economy worldwide, technologically and economically. What are the technologies that enable digital transformation? Where do they come from? How did they develop? We all heard of the .com boom and bust in the 1990s, but we're way past that. What is now actually has taken place is the entire world is beholden to the economics of networks, as it's called in economics. And those network economics work really much differently from ordinary economics. For instance, you'll be surprised to see that we have in many areas not decreasing returns or diminishing returns, but we have increasing returns to scale, because a lot of products in networked economies and networked platform products, the products become more useful the more product is being sold in the market, which is very counterintuitive. So in this module 1, we go over all this entire background and the logic of the digital world that we're in right now. That also includes how innovation is, in fact, a disruptor. It's not simply getting better for everyone, but a lot of companies are getting disrupted by innovation, and therefore not everybody, in other words, is happy. Now, we want to make sure, of course, throughout this program that you'll be some of those that will be made happy by being a disruptor rather than being disrupted by others. And we'll also go a little bit through the states of disruptions in terms of statistics. What can we actually say about how the world is looks like? Statistics are available freely on how the world is changing, how, for instance, financial fintech, direct transfers between mobile phones is reaching places on the planet that didn't even have bank accounts so far. So we have a lot of disruption that is not necessarily visible with the naked eye, but you can see it once you're looking carefully, you can see it everywhere. Now, moving on to module 2, business strategy and the digital transformation. That is now, how do we use these facts? Once we know how networks work, how technology and for what reason technology and network technology has transformed the world, that now has implications on our business strategy. We have to use this knowledge, otherwise we are not taking advantage of knowing how and why things actually work and how they work differently. So after a brief introduction on business strategy, I'll introduce the value net concept, which is about the idea that a product is much more valuable than the product itself in a networked economy. In other words, so actually I can give you one very simple preview example. If you had only one telephone in the entire world, that telephone would be entirely useless because you wouldn't be able to call anyone. Once you let that sink in, now imagine once you add telephones, each additional telephone is actually bringing greater utility to the previous owners of the telephone. And that is the reason why the utility of a lot of things that are networked increases with the amount of things that have been sold. In other words, the more you sell, the easier it becomes to sell the next one. And that is why in network economics, many businesses simply want to grow as fast as possible, no matter the debt that they incur in the process, because growing fast and becoming big means they become much more useful for every user because your network effects increase. Now, in terms of disruption, there's also a lot of dilemmas. For example, innovator's dilemma is something that is related to disruption. We'll go into that in detail. There's a very specific model, and these concepts apply to B2B and to B2C markets. Now, moving on to module 3, digital business model for a digital age. Now, here we are moving on to a different faculty. That faculty will be a Dr. Les Buckley, who is in fact has a corporate background. He has worked as a managing director of a large company here in Singapore, and he is now a consultant on business. So he'll hold the next 2 modules, module 3 and module 4, on the implementation of digital business models and what it means to have digital business models adapted to a digital age and not simply porting over. So there will be a bit of an introduction on what business models actually are, what are the dilemmas that you have to identify, what are the problems that you need to solve, and how does your business model have to adapt to this. So you have to embrace digital. You have to have this willingness to embrace the digital world and to incorporate it into your business model, the way your business is being built. That includes knowing what your value proposition is, the value equation, and the ladders of utility that you're building with regards to your clients and relating to your own business model. From that on, hopefully, you are creating once you have your business model, you are creating a model of what is your best value solution, what is the feasibility. You need feasibility, desirability, and viability, whether you can actually make money with that. Parts of these concepts are universal. They're not necessarily digital, but you will have to apply these concepts to a digital world in order to make sense of it. And you will end up with a framework for your value proposition, which is at the center of your entire business model. Now, moving on to module 4, still held by Dr. Les Buckley, is now the implementation of your digital business and what the challenges and risks are in that context. Now, one thing is that you have to align the organization around your digital business model. And once you do this, you can define the challenges that you will have in implementing it. So you can basically make a list. How do you actually think about your business model? How do you think about your business plan? Make a list of what will be most challenging, and go to the decision-making journey of the customer. So the customer has a customer journey. They will have a problem on what can you do about that problem. That is essentially, why do people buy from you? Because they would rather have your solution than their money in their pocket. And so you have to do 2 things. You have to generate customer awareness, and you have to know why customers make certain decisions. That applies in the same way to business as it applies to business to consumer context, even though it is often presented as a sort of a very different framework. In reality, ultimately, these decisions will still have common grounds, and there will be a common background in why customers make decisions for your product or why they wouldn't. So that is something that you need to know. And you'll end up with a customer journey framework that will mirror the value proposition framework within your business model. Right, so let's go to the next 3 modules. We have a total of 7 modules, and then each module represents a week of learning. So in the module on business model innovation, we have now our own School of Business professor at SMU, Professor Shantanu Bhattacharya, holding this module here. Business model innovation is about a development of the previous modules. What is value creation? Why would actually a customer buy from you? Well, hopefully you are creating value that that customer previously didn't have. And this is why they are handing you the money over, because they want that value. It represents more for them than the money that they have currently in their pocket. But you also need to capture that value. In other words, it costs you some money to create that value, and you need to capture that cost needs to capture it back and more if you want to make a profit. So that's in a way we're coming back to the miracle of economics. Both sides have benefited from the trade because the customer got more than what they paid for, and you got more money than it cost you to produce that value. You need to make sure that you actually fabricate that miracle, that this is your responsibility. And you're doing this in a digital world where you have technology, you have products, you have management systems and processes that need to produce this. And all of these can be undergoing a digital transformation, and should be, if you are doing it right. So here we will develop this into business model canvas, which is the complete model of what Dr. Les Buckley would have talked about in the previous modules, and go to business model innovation, which can come from different areas. Business model innovation can come from either innovating processes or innovating products and services. And you can attack basically the innovation process using digital tools. You can attack it on different areas of your business model. You know, each and every components, modules of your business model can be subject to digital innovation. And you can then basically apply this to future-proof your business model. All right, so when we're moving on now to the module 6 will be, again, our own SMU Professor Arnaud de Meyer, who is also a past president of the entire university. He's handed over this job only 2 or 3 years ago. And he will talk about business model innovation with digital networks. And very specifically, he will talk about business ecosystems. Now, if you remember, I talked about module 1 and module 2, which I teach. I talked about networking effects and how products become more useful if there is more of them out there, because the network in itself provides value that is projected onto the product. The product is basically increasingly gaining value the larger the network becomes. Well, Prof. de Meyer will expand on this, and he will talk about how real life digital business models work in a networked ecosystem context. I can already tell you what's so interesting about ecosystems in the business context. Well, ecosystems are the networks of cooperation between companies that are all related because either they use the same standard or they use the same sort of communication techniques. They plug into each other, they have interfaces, they exchange customer data, all sorts of things. These companies, they don't own each other, but they are all sort of united in a single fate because their utility stands and falls with the network. So Prof. de Meyer will talk about all of this, how to develop that business ecosystem, how to become a player that is positioned in the best position within that ecosystem. In other words, how to develop ecosystem leadership. And all of this will have to do with a lot of things you've heard about, you know, the importance of platforms. Once again, why do companies want to grow big fast? Because, you know, platforms are the thing that sinks or swims, you know, within an ecosystem context. Synergies, co-creation, all of this is sort of harking back to the introduction that I had much earlier on, but Prof. de Meyer will go in depth into the realities of actual digitally fueled business ecosystems. And then finally, in module 7, the digital organization, we will have our own Dr. Flossie Joseph, a member of SMU Executive Development, who also has, in a few years back, we had in fact a research going on within executive development on digital transformation, and she's an expert in leadership, and that is why this module is going to be on digital organization with a focus specifically on digital leadership values, the culture of the organization, which is very important. As you may have heard the expression, your culture will eat your strategy for breakfast. Culture is the thing that we don't see because we think it's normal. Culture is what water is to the fish. He doesn't know that he's in it because he's always surrounded by it. And as a result, culture, your company culture, is extremely important, but very often unseen. It is something that you need to be aware of. And the entire leadership will work within that culture and need to transform that culture if you want to become a digitally enabled organization, because somehow your processes and your culture will need to change and adapt to the new realities of the tools available to you and the entire structure. We talked about ecosystems. This is a culture thing. If your product isn't something that you can develop and keep in-house, if you have to go out and collaborate with companies you cannot control in order to build an ecosystem, that requires a cultural awareness and a totally different type of leadership. And there are lots of barriers, mental blocks, and also organizational structural blocks. And all of this is the subject of Dr. Flossie Joseph's module number 7 on the digital organization. All right, so that was a brief overview of the contents themselves. Now, how is the program structured? These 7 modules have a number of videos attached to them. So there's there's 10 to 12 videos for each of these 7 modules. So there's a total of over 80 video lectures. They have discussion boards attached to themselves. You will be taken through assignments and case studies. There will be one case study that runs as an anchor case study throughout the entire program on the Singapore-based bank DBS. And DBS is a bank that has been cited as a poster child for digital transformation. Well done, winning the Best Bank of the World award just a couple of years back for their efforts and successful efforts in digital transformation. We'll use this as a case, that goes through all 7 modules, and you'll answer questions throughout the modules, but there will also be other cases that relate to more industrial applications. So there's a variety of case studies applying to different industries, not just a bank, but also a manufacturer of industrial products and distributors and the like. So this is in essence the program. Maybe we should also go through the expected value for you, which is basically the learning outcomes that we hope you will achieve. We hope that you will be able now, after you have been through that program, you will be able to identify new technologies, how they can enable digital transformation, and how they can disrupt existing industries. You can examine the future of business strategies and how they relate to these technologies, how to use your business strategy appropriately. Very importantly, there is assignments that are of practical value for you, where you are led to develop actual action plans so that you can develop value and capture that value back from your customers, build business plans, and identify the risks and challenges that are associated with any kind of transformation. You will understand how ecosystems work in the business context, specifically the digitally enabled ecosystems, how network effects enable the workings of these ecosystems, and how they are in fact the crucial background. If you don't understand network economics, you won't understand business ecosystems in the digital world, and you will understand this after you've done this program. It will enhance your value proposition and define your organization. You will be able to know what leadership values are required to enable your people to change and to become the digital leader of tomorrow. And you will finally be able to develop a change and action plan and an executive summary for your organization to adopt digitalization as a part of your digital leadership. So that in a nutshell is the outline of the program. So I'd like at this point to hand it back over to Helen and to go with a bit more of the procedural elements of this introduction.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Karner. I think for me, it's a really comprehensive, really exciting program. And I love the fact that it's really hands-on as well. So what you're going to come away with, guys, is an action plan. Something to be applied right here, right now, and put all the theory into practice with the case studies to amplify those core takeouts and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's really exciting. But who's this program for? And this is really important because obviously, as I said earlier on, it's a networking opportunity. And mostly what we find is that this program attracts professionals who are looking to upscale their digital transformation skills. And perhaps even accelerate digital transformation within their organization, or to help their organization to do that. So we're looking at maybe people with sort of mid to senior professionals, but across all industries. And that's the beauty of it, because you're going to be able to share experience, to share knowledge, share strategies, and so on and so forth, between business to business, business to consumer, direct to consumer, whatever channels you go through, whatever sectors you're in. So it is for mid to senior level individuals, professionals, and those who are responsible for growing a business, perhaps your startup. So we'll be putting a lot into context of your sort of SMEs, as well as large corporates. And as Dr. Karner said, the case studies help to amplify that as well, where you're looking at large organizations like banks, the financial sector, but also coming down to manufacturing and so on. So I think what I'm saying here, the big takeout is there is something that will be relevant for you at every point. And if you're looking for innovation and you're curious and you're looking for digital transformation, this is a must-have experience. So the learning journey, what does that look like? Well, we're going to start off with an orientation week where we'll get to know each other, and you'll get to know the platform, the learning platform, and I'll walk you around that and where you can find everything. And as I say, I'm here to help you, so you can always reach out to me if you've got any questions at all. Any technical issues, I'm going to pass you over to the program support team, who are in the background always, and are just awesome, and they will help if there's any specific technical issues you've got, or anything else you're struggling with in terms of accessing the program. You'll be set us a number of weekly goals, and those goals will include watching the videos that Dr. Karner has been discussing, and you will want to, because they're really engaging. They're great. They're really good. It might sound like a lot, but it's not. It is bite-size videos. And you can. The beauty of that is that you can consume them at your own pace to an extent, obviously within the scope of the week, but it won't overload you too much. It's very much surrounded, bite-sized videos surrounded by other learning materials, and you'll be completing assignments, which again Dr. Karner has been talking about, and each week there will be a deadline for those assignments, and that's just best practice. That's good practice. So and each week I will run an office hour. Not sure where that term came from, but basically it's 60 minutes where we get together and we reflect over the content of each week. And what I can do is to deep dive into any areas that you're not really too sure about, and we can talk about anything that you're still not clear on. It's also a good opportunity for us to have a general Q&A, and for you to talk to each other, obviously on the chat. On the chat boards. And then finally, the support team will follow up over email and phone calls if you need, if you're struggling to submit your assignments on time. So if you need more time, and we understand, you're busy professionals, and you've probably got lots going on in your personal life, lots going on in your professional life, and you're studying at this level, it is a challenge. We encourage everybody, obviously, to meet those deadlines, but if at any time that you're struggling, reach out to program support and they will find a solution, a route forward for you. So just keeping an eye on time here, that's the learning journey, and I think it's great because it really is a truly blended learning experience, which I think you will find energizing and dynamic. And my computer's frozen again. But from this, what you get is a certified, a qualification, a certificate from one of the top management universities in the world. SMU, as I said earlier on, it's ranked number 12, and you will have the certificate to put on your CVs, to put on your LinkedIn profiles. And generally, I think, depending on what your objectives are for joining the program, obviously career progression, in my experience, features quite highly in these programs. This is why a lot of people join them. And of course, this will do a lot for you in terms of progressing your career and also being at the cutting edge of transformation, digital transformation, innovation, and yeah, today we either transform or we'll be transformed, or if we don't disrupt, we will be disrupted. And there are just so many examples of how true that is now. So this is going to keep you cutting edge, and that is a wonderful, wonderful career tool to help you progress. So I'm going to answer a lot of the questions that are probably in your mind right now, and that is, okay, how much? And it's $1,600 US, and you can pay that in full, or there are some payment terms to make it a little bit easier. You can do it in 2 installments, or you can do it in 3 installments, and so on and so forth. So you've got lots of options there for spreading the cost load if you want to, if you need to. Oh, let me come back up actually, because I also wanted to say that one of the other questions that get asked a lot is, yes, but what's my time investment in this program? How much am I expected to put in each week? And I think I'm right in saying it'll be between 4 and 6 hours. It's entirely up to you, because a lot of it is self-directed learning, and you can spend a lot more time than that, but probably not too much less. So it'll be between 4 and 6 hours per week. So I'm hoping that's covered a lot of the mechanics of the program. And what I'm going to do now is open it up to you guys to ask any questions you've got. If you could do that in the Q&A box, that would be wonderful. I'm just going to get that up in front of me. So has anybody got any questions? Want to hear more about the program, about the content, and what you'll be learning? You're very quiet. You're a very quiet cohort. No questions at all.
Let me say, it's a very complete program to understand why the digital economy is what it is, and the elements you need to know for this. Now, questions you may ask at this point is, why would my industry sort of be affected? Think about how your business fits into this.
And there are still no questions. This is extraordinary. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the only other question I get asked a lot is, what does this program give you that other similar programs from other universities won't? And I think Dr. Karner's covered a lot of that. For me, you've got a lot of expertise in the faculty here. You're not just going to be learning from 1 or 2 members of the faculty. There's a lot of people here. You're going to be able, with different experiences, different backgrounds. Got a question. And different expertise and areas of excellence. For me, that's a big differentiator. And the other one is that it is a dynamic course. It is very, very, it's innovative in itself. And it really will help you to harness the power of digital transformation. Program supports are answering that one, so there are no more questions.
Actually, you raised a good point, Helen, because we have built this program by using all the technologies that we're actually talking about. So this is an entirely digital program. It is digitally supported. We are using the latest technology to bring you interesting and engaging visuals, and we have not only a few sitting professors, but one previous president of Singapore Management University, one of the 6 autonomous universities of Singapore. So this is something that is basically a star-studded enterprise here that we're having.
Brilliant. Are the course materials still accessible by the learner after the course? Says Anonymous. We've got a lot of anonymous attendees. Actually, program support, I'm probably going to let you answer that one. And ordinarily, yes, the materials are, but the discussion board's closed down. There's no more emails to myself or program support, but they're answering that one now. Online hours committed, I think we've already discussed that. It's between sort of 4 and 6 hours per week. What if you can't make it for the 6th of September schedule? When is the next intake? Again, program support. I'm going to let you answer that one. Yeah. So yeah, these are all program support questions. Anybody got any questions about the program itself and the content, or do you want to share with us what your thoughts are about what why you would be joining and what you're going to get from it, or what you're looking to get from it? What do you want out of this program? Anybody? Just pop it in the chat box.
Yeah, just grill us on it. Like, why would I want to join this? You know, I am in this and this position. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Industry is covered in the case study. See, very good point. So we have essentially 2 groups of industries. One is bank, the DBS Bank, which is a very large bank. Of course, if you are in the region, very likely you will know DBS Bank. But the other case studies cover smaller industrial companies that manufacture actual industrial products, such as literally nuts and bolts or industrial equipment. And they're also smaller companies in the sense that they only have a few thousand employees instead of a few 10,000 employees. So I wouldn't quite call it an SME, but it is on the upper end of an SME to up to an MNC, which is what DBS actually is.
Brilliant.
From finance to industry to almost small business, not quite small, not quite that small.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously during the office hours as well, at every point, what I'll be trying to do is give you examples, give you more examples. The network economy, for example, or the network effect. You know, we can look at cases like LinkedIn itself and eBay, Amazon. You know, these are all really great examples. So we're looking all the time at examples of how this happens in reality.
That's right.
Because, yeah.
Taking this course IT trained, no, you don't have to be IT trained. As a matter of fact, this is a course for understanding these things from the point of view of management. So that is something, this is not a technologist course. It's a course on technology and the application of technology and the importance of technology and the consequences of technology. But this is not about programming or technology itself. It is an overview for the generalist manager who wants to know how this is useful, a utility or a threat, if any, to their industry.
Yes, your level of technical knowledge, you don't need to, as long as you can join the Zoom calls, access Canvas, submit your assignments, you're fine. But we will be, as Dr. Karner says, we'll be exploring lots of really exciting technologies that enable digital transformation and innovation. Any discount on the course fee, since my daughter is a graduate? Program support, over to you. Okay, so.
Does the business cases why and how corporates should adapt the new technologies like cloud technology, 5G? Well, yes and no. So what the business cases, and not just the cases themselves, let's put it this way. A business case is a thing that is written on a particular business, but there's many more examples within the lecture. So while there are 4 formal cases, there's also many other examples with very specific applications and questions of what companies did in a particular case and what they didn't do. So while there's 4 cases, there's many dozens of examples within that also will talk about why a particular technology was used or what consequences it had. Now, the thing with cases and examples is always that they illustrate very nicely why somebody else did something, but on top of that, you also have to know why would you do it, you know? And that is something where the case in and by itself becomes less important, because then you are basically prompted to think, why would I want to do it? And for that reason, we have the assignments. We make you study these cases, but ultimately, hopefully, you would become a person that is qualified in making decisions with regarding these technologies. And since, as Helen said, it's not a technology course per se, you know, this is a course on the importance, application, and consequences of technology in a business strategy context, and not on how to do programming or how to plug in your router. You know, it's a clear distinction. This is something for a person that is in a management position and making decisions on whether or not buy technology, apply technology, or whether or not within a competitive context, technology can be a threat. In many cases, a lot of businesses are basically afraid these days that somebody else may be eating their lunch. You know, a very, very specific example, Amazon is shipping things all over the planet. And if you're a retailer of anything, Amazon is a threat to you. And that is because Amazon is part of a gigantic business ecosystem that they dominate. Well, all of this is basically squarely within the subject area of this course.
Perfect. Wonderful. So we've got quite a few questions coming through now, Dr. Karner. Really interesting one.
And covers, does it cover how I should sell the value proposition to my senior management? Actually, I really like this very much. I would say that yes, hopefully you would be able to sell a particular value proposition to your senior management after you took this course, because you would be able to say, why a particular value proposition or application of technology within that context is interesting and important, and why therefore you need to adopt it. And you would be able to assess, you'd be able to be in a much better position to assess what is actually going on in your industry. Now, the required tools, the other question by Jean Lay, will this course cover the required tools to influence change management? We will cover part of that in the section on culture. You know, culture and leadership addresses of what's happening within the organization and what are the typical stumbling blocks. Although we don't have a formal session on change management, the consequences for change management are part of it. But I'd have to say, there's no module on change management per se. It's simply implied in the fact that within the culture and leadership, you will have to convince other people and your stakeholders to use this. Okay, now another question. If I already work in the digital transformation team that handles different projects, how can I, as a senior analyst, make a difference after the course? You would be able to be much better informed on the possible consequences of changes within your competitive environment. So you would know, even though I don't know your industry, you will be exposed to enough discussions of industry cases and transformations in other industries that you can draw useful conclusions for your own business and why you need to take certain strategic options. And that is what you do as a senior analyst. You would prepare courses of action which then the senior management can decide upon. And these courses of actions are implied in the functioning of business models, which are covered in the course, in the functioning of ecosystems, which are covered in the course, and in an overview of technology and the consequences and the changes happening right now in the world, which are also covered in the course. So all of these components are covered in the course, and you would definitely be able to make a difference after this. Okay, does it cover risk and compliance aspects of digital transformation? It covers the challenges, yes, but it is not a risk management course per se. So once again, that would be a specialty application to actually calculate numerically what risks you incur. This is not covered in the course. What is covered in the course is to assess the challenges and to have a qualitative assessment of what to look at within your context.
Perfect. Wonderful. Can I just add also, just going back to one of the earlier questions, how can you persuade your organization in terms of digital transformation? We'll be covering data. So you'll be making decisions based on data. You'll be able to prove your proposition in developing that proposition. It'll be based on fact and data. So
okay, I have a question here on how does it help remote places, because it's an online education provider. Well, if not sure if I understand correctly, but yes, since this is a digital course and it is entirely displayed online, you will be perfectly able to take this course if you're in a remote location. You will need some kind of internet access that allows you to stream the videos. And that is really all that is needed. A web browser, a laptop. It may be it may be of an advantage if you have a speedy internet connection, but it will work as long as you do have an internet connection. And it works on a web browser, so there's no additional software. So everything will work off a browser.
Yeah. The challenge about home working, isn't it? We all hope and pray the internet doesn't let us down.
Yes. And you will have assistance. You know, there's an entire team assisting you both on the technology itself and also on the contents. So there's a team that will help you with doing the assessments and accessing the materials.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Karner. Jean, just a kind of a follow-up on that. If you want to explain that question a bit more, because it could be that you're asking how it might be applied to remote places and digital transformation and so on and so forth. So if you've got another question, do pop it in the Q&A box for us. Right. We'll just give people a couple more minutes just to see if there are any more questions. I'm hoping we answered your question, Jean, and everybody else. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much done it. Having said that, if you need to reach out to us at any time, if you do have any questions, if you come away from here and think, one or two things I need to know, just reach out and of course we'll help. We're here to help. So what do you do now? Where do you go from here? If you want to apply, you can apply now or email program@emeritus.org. And I would encourage you to do that because this is a program that fills up very, very quickly. Seats go fast. So if you would like to do that, sign up now, and we are really excited to see you next month.
See you soon.